So this morning we're going to talk about ranger beads or pace count beads. Now before you get started on ranger beads, what you need to do is determine what your pace count is. To find your pace count, you want to measure out 1,000 meters. And then you're going to count your steps. Now you're going to count every other step. So if you lead off with your right foot, then you count every time your left foot hits the ground. If you lead off with your left foot, then you count every time your right foot hits the ground. So I know my pace count for uneven ground is about 68 steps or 68 paces. So that's every other foot what I count.
Alright, so I got 100 meters measured out here. Now if I lead off with my right foot, I'm only going to count my left foot. So you're going to want to take normal steps. So if you are unsure, if you're taking normal steps, run this a couple times and get your average. So I'm going to lead out with my right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. So 70 at 100 meters. Now I know that my pace count is usually around 68, so I was taking a few too many short steps here, so I would run it again. But you know, every time I've done it, I've been around 68, 69. So I'm going to average my pace count out at 68, and that's for some uneven terrain.
So once you figure out your pace count for uneven ground, you want to do flat, uneven, uphill, and downhill. And all those should be just roughly different because you're going to take different steps, different paces, whether you're going up or down or on flat or uneven terrain. But once you figure out your pace count, go ahead and write it down. And then you can make your ranger beads. Now here's my ranger beads. Coming a little closer here. Now my ranger beads are a little bit different than you'll see elsewhere because I've got extra beads here on the bottom. Now what this will do, well, most ranger beads are just that right there. And that'll give you a 5,000 meters. What this will give me is this will count me up to about 20,000 meters. Now I figure if on a good day, depending on weather and whatnot, I can walk about 20,000 meters in a day. So I've added this on here. So what we do on a pace count, we'll slide everything up. And then once I count out 100 meters from this long change when I'm walking, so when I get to pace count of 68, I'm going to slide one of these down. That means I've walked 100 meters. And then the next one will be 200 meters, 300 meters, 400 meters, 500 meters, 600 meters, 700 meters, 800 meters, 900 meters. Now when I get back to the next 100 meters, we know that's 1,000. This is going to go down. And then these slide back up. So I'm going to be back at the top with these ones. I've walked 1,000 meters, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2,000 meters. Okay, slide these back up, and then we'll slide them all down again. Once they all hit down, that's 3,000, 4,000, and then once we get them all down again, that's 5,000. We'll slide those up, and that goes down again to 5,000 meters. So now we go 5,100 meters, 5,200, 5,300, and once we go down, once we get those all the way down again, this is going to be 10,000 meters. And that's pretty much it. So each one of these beads here is 100 meters. Each one of these beads is 1,000 meters. I think when I told you to count out 1,000 meters, I misspoke. You're supposed to count out 100 meters just to represent one of these beads. Okay, 100 meters. That's it. That's basically it for ranger beads. Now, how you use these, let me go back over here and sit down. You use these in conjunction with a topographical map. So spread your topographical map out. You look at the distance from the point you're starting at to the point you're heading to, point A to point B, and then you use the chart on that map to determine how far it is from point A to point B. So if it's 2,000 meters, you know that you're going to drop 2 of these beads. Now if you're walking and you count out 2,000 meters and you're not at your destination yet, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You might messed up your pace count. You want to go another 200 or 300 meters and you might find your location. So you're looking for a stream or a pond or something of that nature, or top of a hill or a ravine, but whatever it is, you know that's 2,000 meters away. Go ahead and overshoot it by 200 or 300 meters. If you still can't find it, you need to backtrack to the point where you started and then do it again and measure it out. Make sure you got your pace counts right. Of course, this is in a situation where finding your location is important. It's probably best to, if you're traveling over long distances, to do short spans. So you don't want to be like, oh, this river I'm looking for is 20,000 meters away, a day away. So I know, that once I hit there, I'm going to be there. Well, now you've walked a day, you haven't found it, now you're lost. So choose short intervals, 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, walk those 2,000 meters, and then you should find your location if you've done your pace count right. Like I said, if you haven't, just turn back around, go back to your starting point, take your calculations again, and make a run for it again. That's pretty much it. So the gist of it, make your pace count beads. You want 9 beads here. When you go for the 10th bead, that's 1,000 meters. This is your 10th bead. And then these go to 5,000. Okay, just a quick run through for ranger beads on a topographical map. What we're going to do in this example is, probably can't see it on there, but right here's a river. We're going to say that's our starting point. And we want to traverse this terrain, and we'll say we're looking for this river over here. So we want to get from point A to point B. Now we're going to assume that this is flat, or not flat, but uneven terrain. So we know my pace count for uneven terrain is 68 paces. For this particular map, 2.2 centimeters is equal to half a kilometer. So what we're going to do here, now you can use the scale on the compass instead of a ruler, but first off, you're going to use your compass to get your bearing. And we're going to be traveling in an easterly direction on here. So 2.2 centimeters, that makes my first waypoint for a half a kilometer right about here. Second waypoint for the next half a kilometer is, gotta put that ruler back, is right about here, and then we got a short distance there that's less than 2.2 kilometers. That is about 1.5 centimeters. So we know that half a kilometer, 5,000 meters, for my pace count being 68, 5,000 meters should be about 348 paces. So 340 paces, another 340 paces, and this, it being 1.5 centimeters, it's going to be around 290 paces. It's actually a little bit higher than that, so but we'll call that 290. Let's round up to 300. So we got 340 plus 340 plus 300. That's 980 paces. So we know if we're starting at point A to point B, we're 980 paces, assuming this is uneven terrain. Now on a topographical map, you'll see this thick line running through here. That's called an index line. That index line has usually been surveyed, and it's got an elevation. There's an elevation in there
right here we got an elevation. That's 10,200 feet. Right there. That index line is at 10,200 feet. No, correction, that's 10,400 feet. Sorry, it's hard to read there, upside down. 10,400. And then this one, yeah, you can see that one. 10,000. This one's at 10,000 feet. So we know from this point, this index line, we started out on because it runs from 10,000 feet and it runs along here. This index line is 10,000 feet. So you're starting at 10,000 feet above sea level. And then by the time you hit here, you're at 10,400. So you're climbing, you're going uphill. So uphill, your pace count is usually going to increase. So we're going to go up. And then this point right here is, let's see, index line is 10,600. So this is another 200 feet in elevation increase. So you're going up a hill here. And then this looks like 10,800. So you're going to be climbing up a hill. So your pace count for this is actually going to be higher than 68 because you're going uphill. You're going to be taking shorter steps. And then, of course, if you're carrying a backpack, a heavier load, it's going to be more steps. So when you're counting out your pace count, consider that, you know, what weight you're going to be carrying. So again, real quick again, from this point to this point, 340 paces is what it's going to take me to get here. And then there's another 340, and then about 300. It's actually going to be a little less. So you add those together, that's going to be my pace count.
That's it for Ranger Beats. Hope you learned something. Remember, the prepared survive.